All worlds begin with Demon Slayer. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 401, The Weak Ayashiki Kiko. Under the conditioning of Bai Yu's wood essence, Ayashiki Kiko gradually eased up, and then replied, "It's okay. My body has been weak since I was a child, and I can't bear excessive emotions and high-intensity exercise." Hearing this, Bai Yu realized that Ayashiki Kiko's body was so fragile, and he couldn't help but hugged her in his arms with heartache. Ayashiki Kiko also took the initiative to bury herself in Bai Yu's arms. The two hugged each other for a long time. Bai Yu promised Ayashiki Kiko, "I will definitely heal your body. Then you can run happily in the sun." After saying that, Bai Yu had already secretly called the superdimensional crossing system in his heart, trying to get rid of such a fragile body with the help of the superdimensional crossing system. However, the superdimensional crossing system coldly broadcasted a reminder to Bai Yu. The matter is not within the task, and no help can be given. Bai Yu couldn't help but secretly speak sweetly to the system in his heart, because Bai Yu knew that it was the system that was unwilling to help him, not that it was incapable of changing Ayashiki Kiko's physique. After all, the system can make an ordinary person like me so awesome, and can also give out reward items that can reverse time, so it must be easy to make Kiko Ayashiki's body stronger. Although Bai Yu also thought of trying to use the essence of wood, the essence of wood does not have the effect of strengthening the body, it only has the effect of accelerating the recovery of injuries. The principle is to use the essence of wood to stimulate the activity of cells in a short period of time, so that the efficiency of cells can reach a very high peak in a short period of time, so that the injuries will heal faster than usual. If the efficiency of cells is only about 30 to 40% at ordinary times, then the essence of wood is like a catalyst, which can make the efficiency reach 100% or even 200%. Although the use of wood essence is good, it can only improve the efficiency of cells and cannot strengthen the cells of the body. Otherwise, as a user of wood breathing, Bai Yu's body would not be strengthened into a superhuman physique. Therefore, the essence of wood cannot have any improvement effect on Kiko Ayashiki's body. At this time, Ayashiki Kiko looked up at Bai Yu and said, "I believe you. But there are only 22 years left at most." Bai Yu was a little confused when he heard what Ayashiki Kiko said. What did Ayashiki Kiko mean? What does it mean that there are only 22 years left at most? Just when Bai Yu was confused, Ayashiki Kiko continued, "As a member of the Ayashiki family, not only are they born weak and sickly, but they will not live past the age of 30. This is the most serious for male members, just like my father. As he grows older, my father's health has begun to deteriorate. His health is getting worse day by day. There is not much time left. As a girl, although my physical condition will not deteriorate with age, I will not be able to live past the age of 30. This is a curse of the Ayashiki family for generations." Hearing this, Bai Yu's face couldn't help but become solemn. "Curse?" Exclamation mark. Whose curse was it? Just when Bai Yu was even more confused, Ayashiki Kiko said, "I hope to give birth to our child at the age of 16, so that I can have more time to accompany him." Chapter 402, Family Secret. At this time, when Kiko Ayashiki said that she wanted to give Bai Yu a child, Bai Yu was even more surprised, and then his eyes looked straight at Kiko Ayashiki. In fact, Bai Yu has no plan for the child now, and everything will go as it will. However, Kiko Ayashiki's words did make Bai Yu feel inexplicably warm and a little agitated. It can be imagined that when a girl says to you in front of you that "I want to have a child with you," the man's mood must be full of joy and complexity. Judging from Kiko Ayashiki's words and tone, she seems to have planned her future life. Bai Yu doesn't know what Kiko Ayashiki felt when she knew that she only had 30 years to live. But from her indifferent tone now, it is obvious that she has accepted such a fate. Let's talk about the child later. Since the Ayashiki family knows that it is a curse, they should also know how to break the curse, right? Bai Yu felt that there must be a solution to the problem, so he asked Kiko Yubuayashiki. Yubuayashiki Kiko nodded, then broke away from Bai Yu's embrace and sat on the grass, facing the town in the distance. After sitting down, Yubuayashiki Kiko turned her head and looked at Bai Yu, who was standing there. Bai Yu looked at her and then sat down next to Yubuayashiki Kiko. As soon as Bai Yu sat down, Yubuayashiki Kiko leaned towards Bai Yu, and then she said, "Let me tell you a secret. The establishment of the Demon Slayer Corps is actually due to the curse of the Yubuayashiki family, and this curse is related to Muzan Kibutsuji. Only by killing Muzan Kibutsuji can the curse of the Yubuayashiki family disappear. And this curse was born because the Yubuayashiki family has a blood connection with Muzan Kibutsuji. Thousands of years ago, after Muzan Kibutsuji became a demon, the Yubuayashiki family was shrouded in this curse. The children born in the Yubuayashiki family at that time did not live long and died. In order to continue the inheritance of their bloodline, Yubuayashiki Kiko's family went to seek help from a highly respected god at the time. Under the instructions of the god, they learned that the Yubuayashiki family could only alleviate the impact of the curse by combining with the women of the Jingu clan. This method is just a delaying tactic. Although the children born after combining with the women of the Jingu family will no longer die prematurely, they are born with weak health and will not live beyond the age of 30. I said before that this is most serious for men. As they age, their bodies gradually deteriorate until they die. This is an extremely painful process. This secret is something that all members of the Demon Slayer Corps don't know, even the pillars. So you have to promise not to tell anyone. Yubuayashiki Kiko said a lot, and at the end, Yubuayashiki Kiko looked at Bai Yu very seriously. Bai Yu nodded, after recovering from the large amount of information. At this time, Bai Yu realized that the struggle between the Demon Slayer Corps and Muzan Kibutsuji was actually the struggle between the Yubuayashiki family and Muzan Kibutsuji, and it was a family affair. If this matter were to be spread, it would certainly cause a lot of turmoil. However, since the curse could be disintegrated by simply killing Muzan Kibutsuji, then things would be much easier. Chapter 403, The Truth is Revealed. This curse will be broken by me, Bai Yu. Muzan Kibutsuji will definitely die in my hands. Bai Yu answered very firmly. Kiko Yubuayashiki only felt warm in her heart and did not make any response to Bai Yu, because it was an extremely dangerous thing, which might cost Bai Yu's life. Therefore, Kiko Yubuayashiki did not encourage Bai Yu to fight for herself or the entire Yubuayashiki family. Perhaps it was unfair to Bai Yu to let Bai Yu bear these. Compared with the curse that disintegrated the family, Kiko Yubuayashiki wanted more, to leave more good memories with Bai Yu in the limited time. I'll ask you a question. You have to answer me honestly, okay? Kiko Yubuayashiki did not continue this heavy topic, but changed the topic and asked Bai Yu. Hearing this, Bai Yu nodded and said yes. Bai Yu thought Kiko Yubuayashiki would ask some questions about whether he really loved her, but the words Kiko Yubuayashiki asked made Bai Yu's expression change drastically. Whose mouth is sweeter, me or Shinobu Kocho? Yubuayashiki Kiko asked her question word by word. When Bai Yu heard this question, his mind suddenly went blank, and then he looked at Yubuayashiki Kiko with some horror. Bai Yu did not rush to explain, but just kept looking at Yubuayashiki Kiko. The two looked at each other for a long time. Seeing that Bai Yu did not speak, Yubuayashiki Kiko thought that Bai Yu wanted to pretend to be confused and deceive, so she continued. I already know about you and Shinobu Kocho. Since you live together, you must have had an intimate relationship. I don't mean to blame you. Because of my age, I can't give it to you now. Otherwise, you and Shinobu Kocho would not have developed like this. It is normal for a man to have 3 wives and 4 concubines, and you are also qualified, so there is no need to avoid this issue. Hearing that Yubuayashiki Kiko did not care about this, Bai Yu's frozen expression gradually eased. When did you know? Bai Yu did not immediately answer Yubuayashiki Kiko's question, but asked back. I knew it from the first time you did it. You did it 12 times in total, plus the one last night, a total of 13 times, each time lasting about half an hour, which shows that you have good stamina. 3 of them. Yubuayashiki Kiko also said what she knew without any hesitation. The more Bai Yu listened, the more flustered he became. Before Yubuayasha Kikiko finished speaking, he immediately covered Yubuayasha Kikiko's mouth to stop her from continuing. Because Bai Yu could already guess what Yubuayasha Kikiko was going to say, it was very embarrassing. Little ancestor, stop, stop. After Bai Yu covered Yubuayasha Kikiko's mouth, he signaled that she didn't need to say any more. Otherwise, it wouldn't pass the review. Yubuayasha Kikiko blinked her big eyes and looked at Bai Yu without any resistance. Bai Yu was also a little scared of Yubuayasha Kikiko. How did she know so many details? Bai Yu, the person involved, didn't remember it so clearly. Yubuayasha Kikiko was like watching every live broadcast. It was too scary. Those things happened in the butterfly house. Logically, the place where butterfly house is kept should be very safe. How do you know these details? Chapter 404, A World for Two. After asking, Bai Yu slowly moved his hand away from Yubuayasha Kikiko's mouth. Yubuayasha Kikiko showed Bai Yu a smug smile, as if she was happy to play a prank on Bai Yu. Secret. I won't tell you. Yubuayasha Kikiko replied with a smile, and then stuck out her tongue at Bai Yu, and then made a cute face. Bai Yu saw that Yubuayasha Kikiko was unwilling to say it, so he immediately stretched out his hand to tickle her belly and armpits. Yubuayasha Kikiko laughed out loud, and then kept twisting her body to prevent Bai Yu from tickling her. I surrender. Surrender. Yubuayasha Kikiko immediately couldn't help begging for mercy, and at the same time she was a little out of breath. Bai Yu also stopped immediately, and then used the wood breath to inject the appropriate amount of wood essence into Yubuayasha Kikiko's body, so that she could breathe better with the help of the wood essence. Seeing Yubuayasha Kikiko like this, Bai Yu only felt distressed. Are you okay? Bai Yu asked with concern. Yubuayasha Kikiko could feel the energetic comfort in her body. She knew that this was caused by the faint green light from Bai Yu's hand. Under the care of Bai Yu's hand, Yubuayasha Kikiko felt particularly at ease. Yubuayasha Kikiko shook her head and said, "Look how anxious you are. Then I'll tell you." After that, after listening to Yubuayasha Kikiko's story, Bai Yu knew how Yubuayasha Kikiko knew about the things between her and Kocho Shinobu. It turned out that Yubuayasha Kikiko knew about the things between herself and Kocho Shinobu with the help of Yashiro's spell and the crow. Because the appearance of the crow in the Demon Slayer core was not surprising, it was indeed difficult for people to guard against it. Bai Yu also knew that the Yubuayashiki family had a cooperative relationship with Tameo and Yashiro. The wisteria flower poison used by Kocho Shinobu was first researched by Tameo, and later it was continuously improved and strengthened by Kocho Shinobu, who was proficient in pharmacology. So Yubuayasha Kikiko got the visual sharing spell that Yashiro left for Yubuayasha Kiyoya, and then attached it to a crow, and then let the crow keep watching Bai Yu. With such a broadcaster, all of Bai Yu's actions are actually under the close attention of Yubuayasha Kikiko. Seeing that Yubuayasha Kikiko is so smart at such a young age, Bai Yu couldn't help but smile bitterly. Bai Yu, in a few years, I will make you unable to extricate yourself. Yubuayasha Kikiko hinted to Bai Yu. Bai Yu knew what Yubuayasha Kikiko meant, smiled, then pinched her nose and said, "Don't be serious." After that, Bai Yu stayed with Yubuayasha Kikiko for a long time, until Yubuayasha Kikiko felt that it was a little late, and then took the initiative to say to Bai Yu, "Okay, it's so late, I should go back." Bai Yu did not keep her, and said, "It's time to go back." Immediately, both of them stood up. Yubuayasha Kikiko patted the dust on her buttocks, then tidied her clothes, and finally looked at Bai Yu and asked, "You haven't answered me yet. Whose mouth is sweeter?" "Yours is sweeter." Bai Yu also gave his preferred answer. Bai Yu's answer made Yubuayasha Kikiko smile gently. Although she was smart and knew that Bai Yu was saying this to obey her, sometimes girls just like to hear such words. So, Yubuayasha Kikiko moved her face closer to Bai Yu again, and then closed her eyes. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 405, Angry Kocho Shinobu. Bai Yu knew that the girl's action was asking for a kiss, so when they parted, the two kissed again. After a kiss, the two left this place full of memories and beautiful memories of Yubuyasha Kikiko. Bai Yu first escorted Yubuyasha Kikiko to the mansion where she lived, and then returned to the butterfly house alone. In the middle of the night, there were no other team members active in the mountains, which was very secluded and safe. After returning to the butterfly house, Bai Yu returned to the backyard where he lived with Kocho Shinobu and Kaneo. As soon as he walked into the small backyard, Bai Yu saw Kocho Shinobu sitting on the steps outside the house looking at him. "Are you back?" Kocho Shinobu asked Bai Yu with a narrowed smile. "Yeah." Bai Yu nodded and replied, "I'm back." Because Bai Yu went out under the guise of visiting Tanjiro in Purgatory Pavilion, Bai Yu didn't know that when he met Kocho Shinobu, he had already seen him in the dark. "Are you still asleep?" Bai Yu asked. Shinobu Kocho shook her head and said, "Bai Yu, I want you to accompany me too." Seeing this, Bai Yu also felt that Shinobu Kocho was a little abnormal. If the two were in a relationship now, Shinobu Kocho would never suddenly act like a spoiled child. In addition, she had fed him yesterday, and Shinobu Kocho was not the kind of person who was unsatisfied. Even if she needed it, Shinobu Kocho would have pulled her back to the room long ago, so why would she act like a spoiled child here? After saying that, Shinobu Kocho came over and hugged Bai Yu. After hugging for a while, Shinobu Kocho suddenly looked up and asked Bai Yu, "Bai Yu, what's the matter with the fragrance on your body?" "This is not my fragrance. Maybe I got it when I passed by the flowers." Bai Yu answered calmly. "So you went to pick wildflowers? Are domestic flowers not as fragrant as wildflowers?" Shinobu Kocho asked Bai Yu again with a hint of meaning. Bai Yu became even more confused, and Shinobu Kocho's hint of meaning made Bai Yu confused. "No, I was just passing by." Bai Yu still answered calmly. "Passing by? I have seen you holding hands. You told me. You go." "Bai Yu, you dare to have the idea? People are still a child." Butterfly forgives. This is completely a showdown with Bai Yu, saying that it is a pink fist hammer on Bai Yu's chest. It is just a bad way to speak. This is too bad to hurt the butterfly tolerance. Is it the Lord in the middle of the night to find you to eat supper? The butterfly ninja saw that Bai Yu didn't speak, and he punched him again. "Calm down. You're a pillar. How come your breathing becomes disordered when you get angry?" Bai Yu immediately comforted the agitated Kocho Shinobu. Kocho Shinobu was not angry because of Yubuyasha Kikiko, but because Bai Yu lied to her, saying that he was going to discuss something with Tanjiro, but ended up meeting with Yubuyasha Kikiko in private. Chapter 406 Forgive My Greed. In fact, when Shinobu Kocho saw Bai Yu and Yubuyasha Kikiko leaving hand in hand, she did not stop them, which actually meant that she recognized Kiko Yubuyashiki. But after Bai Yu came back, he did not take the initiative to confess, but continued to deceive herself, which made Shinobu Kocho unbearable. As a woman, she naturally did not want her man to deceive her. "Then why don't you tell the truth? When did you get involved with the daughter of the master?" Shinobu Kocho ordered Bai Yu in the manner of a principal wife. Under the pressure of Shinobu Kocho, Bai Yu could only tell everything. In fact, the matter between Bai Yu and Kiko Yubuyashiki was very simple. Except for the first meeting with Fujizushin and this private meeting, Bai Yu and Kiko Yubuyashiki did not have too many frequent intersections. After listening to Bai Yu's explanation, Shinobu Kocho did not believe that the two of them could fall in love with each other so easily, but thinking that Bai Yu and Kiko Yubuyashiki both had silver white hair, they did feel that they were made for each other. In addition, at the last meeting of the pillars, Yubuyashiki Yoya was extremely partial to Bai Yu, which made Shinobu Kocho wonder if the two had an engagement after seeing Bai Yu and Yubuyashiki meeting in private. However, Bai Yu's answer broke Shinobu Kocho's inference. "So, I'm the one who interfered?" Shinobu Kocho couldn't help but embarrass Bai Yu. "Forgive me for being greedy, Shinobu Kocho. You and Kiko are both my Bai Yu's women." Bai Yu pulled Shinobu Kocho into his arms, then hugged Shinobu Kocho's waist and announced. In the social era at that time, it was acceptable for a capable man to have 3 wives and 4 concubines, so Shinobu Kocho didn't have much objection to Bai Yu's decision, but asked Bai Yu, Who do you think is the main wife? This is something you have to discuss among yourselves. I think Kiko will definitely not compete with you, and Kiko already knows about our affairs. She also accepts your existence. Bai Yu then told Shinobu Kocho that Kiko already knew about their relationship. Since the matter can no longer be hidden, then we can only reveal it. Bai Yu also felt that there was no need to hide it. Hearing this, Shinobu Kocho asked again, "Did you tell her?" Bai Yu shook his head and said, "She found it herself." Then, Bai Yu told the general story again. Bai Yu did not mention the sharing of the spell with Yashiro's vision, nor did he mention that Kiko Yubuayashiki even told Shinobu Kocho that she knew how many times she had done it with him. He just told Shinobu Kocho that it was the crow sent by Kiko Yubuayashiki to monitor her that leaked the secret. Shinobu Kocho also knew that the crows of the Demon Slayer Corps were specially trained and very smart. It was even easier for them to find out some information at the Demon Slayer Corps headquarters, because the crows would not be driven away or cared about at the Demon Slayer Corps headquarters. However, Kiko Yubuayashiki's behavior also let Shinobu Kocho know that Kiko Yubuayashiki was not at ease with Bai Yu staying in the butterfly house at first. It was just that Bai Yu and Shinobu Kocho were progressing too fast, so Kiko Yubuayashiki had no time to intervene. Then you and Huzi have been meeting secretly for so long, isn't that what happened? Kocho Shinobu was too lazy to care about this anymore, but was concerned about what happened when she met Bai Yu. Hearing this, Bai Yu flicked Kocho Shinobu's head and smiled bitterly. "What are you thinking? How old are you? It's not the right time yet." Chapter 407 Silence. The days after that tended to be dull. Hattori Kyujo and the Murata brothers insisted on training every day, especially the Murata brothers. The two of them were working hard to master full collection normal. As for Hattori Kyujo, he was temporarily arranged by Bai Yu to Rengoku Kaijiro to conduct new advanced training with Tanjiro, Agatsuma Zenitsu and Inosuke. In addition, Hattori Kyujo also used the breath of flame, so she accepted the guidance of the flame pillar, and the effect of improving her strength might be more obvious, especially in the understanding of the moves. Although Bai Yu has now mastered the breath of flame, Bai Yu does not want to expose it so easily. During this period, Kanzaki Aoi also listened to Bai Yu's words, and met with Tanjiro under the guise of checking the body of Inosuke and Tanjiro. As for what the two talked about, Bai Yu did not know. Agatsuma Zenitsu also ran to the butterfly house every few days, in order to let his eyes accept the baptism of the girl, otherwise Agatsuma Zenitsu really got sick. Bai Yu would visit the injured Sakata Ichiro and Inao Kenta every day. These two people were the weak points of the team, and now they were injured, and their training was lagging behind the others. In order to prevent Ichiro and Kenta from being left behind, Bai Yu would use the breath of wood to help them recover from their injuries as soon as possible when he visited them every day, so that they could devote themselves to training faster. With Bai Yu's help, the two had almost recovered in 5 days. After that, like the Murata brothers, they immediately devoted themselves to training. Soon a month passed, and the 12 demon months had no movement for the time being, as if they had chosen to be silent. It is estimated that the Battle of the Infinite Train made them dare not blindly take the initiative to attack again. Bai Yu no longer has to deal with those low-level tasks. These tasks have been handed over to Tanjiro, Agatsuma Zenitsu, Inosuke and Hattori Kyujo to handle separately. They are all tasks that focus on investigating the situation, and are suspected of being haunted by ghosts. After all, the lower rank demons of the 12 Kazuki have all been killed, and the remaining upper rank demons can't just wander around, so there is absolutely no problem in giving these tasks to Tanjiro, who has become a Class A team member, to do alone. Because of the silence of the 12 Kazuki, Bai Yu and the pillars of the Demon Slayer Corps basically stay at the headquarters on standby, and their days are quite comfortable. The powerful performance of Bai Yu and Rengoku Kaijiro in fighting Kokushibo and Akaza has made Bai Yu's status in the Demon Slayer Corps equal to that of the pillars, or even a little higher. This is most obvious in Rengoku Kaijiro, because it was thanks to Bai Yu that he survived the infinite train stop. Therefore, Rengoku Kaijiro had a little respect for Bai Yu. and Tomioka Giyu also wanted to succeed the position of the water pillar to Bai Yu, but this was rejected by Bai Yu because Bai Yu didn't care about the name of the pillar, and these titles were not important to Bai Yu. Secondly, Tomioka Giyu's action also shows that he seems to be avoiding something. Bai Yu naturally doesn't want Tomioka Giyu to use him to escape from something he doesn't want to face. Because since he has become a pillar, he must take on the mission and responsibility of the pillar. Chapter 408, New Clothes Made by Shinobu Kocho. Time passed day by day. In the past month, Murata Shinji mastered the full concentration normal state. Murata Shinichi, Sakatsuki Ichiro and Inao Kenta also mastered the full concentration normal state one after another. The 4 people who mastered the full concentration normal state also clearly felt that they were very different from before. Whether it was perception, reaction or strength, they had a qualitative leap. The 4 knew that they had become stronger. After mastering the full concentration normal state, the 4 people gradually welcomed their single line tasks. 3 months passed like this, and soon winter came. The weather turned much cooler, and the leaves of the trees in the mountains withered. This made the atmosphere of the whole mountain much colder. During these 3 months, Bai Yu either gave some guidance to the members of the Zenyu team during the day, or took Nezuko to visit Tanjiro and others at the Purgatory Pavilion. At night, he took turns to accompany Kocho Shinobu and Yubuayashi Kikiko. During these 3 months, Bai Yu and Yubuayashi Kikiko met quite frequently. Yubuayashi Kikiko often asked herself to meet in the back mountain through small notes passed by the crow. After Kocho Shinobu knew the situation, Bai Yu would tell Kocho Shinobu about Bai Yu's date with Yubuayashi Kikiko, and Kocho Shinobu also allowed Bai Yu to meet with Yubuayashi Kikiko in private. Therefore, Bai Yu's life was really very comfortable. At that time, Bai Yu had the idea that it would be fine if it continued like this. On this day, Bai Yu stood outside the house and looked up at the sky. Because there was no sunshine, the sky today looked very gloomy. After a while, it began to snow in the sky, and Bai Yu knew that winter had come. At this time, Kocho Shinobu also came out of the house, holding a new coat that had just been made for Bai Yu. It was a pure black coat with many falling white feathers on the clothes, and the front of the white feathers had a lavender gradient transition. This purple color seems to represent Bai Yu's deification, but it represents more of Kocho Shinobu, because Kocho Shinobu's hair is lavender, so the purple color in the white feather should represent that Kocho Shinobu has become inseparable from Bai Yu, or it represents that the hearts of the two have been integrated together. From this point, we can see how deep Kocho Shinobu's feelings for Bai Yu are. Kocho Shinobu put the new clothes specially made for Bai Yu on Bai Yu's body, and then said to Bai Yu, "It's snowing. It's time to wear more clothes." In fact, Bai Yu, a strong man who has mastered the secret of breathing, does not need to add clothes to resist the cold, just breathe. However, Bai Yu knew that this dress carried Kocho Shinobu's deep feelings in it, so he put his hand into the sleeve, and then "Thank you, butterfly." Bai Yu wore the clothes tailored for him by Kocho Shinobu, and the black style gave Bai Yu a different temperament. At this time, Kaneo also came out of the house, and then looked at Bai Yu and Kocho Shinobu, and then looked at the coin in her hand. Kaneo couldn't help but recall the way Tanjiro tossed the coin. Kocho Shinobu saw Kaneo also came out, and couldn't help but said, "Kaneo, I also made one for you, go and get it now." Chapter 409, The Man in Kaneo's Heart. After saying that, Shinobu Kocho went into the house to get the new clothes she made for Kaneo. Because for Shinobu Kocho, Kaneo is not only her stepson, but also a family member. So, in addition to making new clothes for Bai Yu for the winter, Shinobu Kocho also did not forget Kaneo's share. After Shinobu Kocho entered the house, Bai Yu looked at Kaneo. Bai Yu was already used to this taciturn girl. Although Bai Yu lived in the butterfly house for 3 months this time, she basically had no conversation with Kaneo. In addition to eating and sleeping, she maintained the necessary daily training. Sometimes she would go on a few missions, but she would be back in less than 3 or 4 days. Bai Yu looked at Kaneo who was standing there looking at him, and smiled at her. But Kaneo suddenly asked Bai Yu, "Are you and Sister Butterfly in love?" Bai Yu was very surprised to hear Kaneo suddenly ask this, but Bai Yu was not shy. Instead, he nodded and replied, yes. Then what is love? Why do you want to be in love? Kaneo asked again. Hearing this, Bai Yu didn't know how to answer Kaneo's question, because it was difficult for someone like Kaneo who lacked emotions to explain it clearly, because it allows each other to rely on each other. If you meet a boy who you can't forget in your heart, you might as well grab each other. Bai Yu could only explain to Kaneo in a rather obscure way. As soon as Bai Yu finished speaking, Butterfly Shinobu came out again with new clothes for Kaneo. Shinobu Kocho put the new clothes she made for Kaneo on her body, and then said, Kaneo, do you like it? Kaneo looked at the new clothes on her body, then nodded and said, I like it. At this time, Kaneo was thinking about what Bai Yu said in her mind. Bai Yu's words made Kaneo think of Tanjiro, because when Tanjiro tossed Kaneo's coin that time, Tanjiro broke into Kaneo's heart. And because Tanjiro did not live in the butterfly house this time, and Kanzaki Aoi talked about Tanjiro in Purgatory Pavilion from time to time, Kaneo had a strange feeling. I'm going out for a while. Kaneo immediately put on Shinobu Kocho's new clothes, and left without looking back. Shinobu Kocho looked at Kaneo who was leaving, then looked at Bai Yu in surprise and asked, what's wrong with Kaneo? Bai Yu shook his head, indicating that he didn't know. After Kaneo left the butterfly house, he ran towards the Purgatory Pavilion without stopping. When she ran to Purgatory Pavilion, Kaneo felt timid again, not knowing why she was looking for Tanjiro. It was all because Kaneo was influenced by Bai Yu's words at that time, and her subsequent actions were all based on her inattendances. Thinking of this, what Tanjiro said to her before rang in her mind again, that she should live according to her heart. Kaneo couldn't help but stand outside the door of Purgatory Pavilion and shouted inside, Tanjiro. After shouting a few times, only Ringoku Kajiro came out. Seeing that it was Kaneo who was shouting outside the door, Ringoku Kajiro took the initiative to ask, you are Butterfly's stepson Kaneo. What do you want to see Tanjiro about? He went out on a mission and hasn't come back yet. Chapter 410, Kaneo's Inner World. When Kaneo heard Ringoku Kajiro's answer, her mind suddenly went blank, not knowing what to do next. What should she do next when Tanjiro is not here? Kaneo was completely at a loss. Seeing Kaneo not speaking, Ringoku Kajiro could not help but feel helpless. Ringoku Kajiro knew something about Kaneo's personality, and she was a girl who was difficult to communicate with. Is Bai Yu looking for Tanjiro? Ringoku Kajiro could only continue to ask. Kaneo ignored her and just turned away silently, which made Ringoku Kajiro even more confused, but he could only watch Kaneo leave quietly. What a strange child. Ringoku Kajiro shook his head helplessly. Kaneo returned to the butterfly house in a state of dismay, and then saw Tanjiro talking to Bai Yu in the living room in the backyard. Just when Kaneo went out, Tanjiro, who had just returned from a mission, couldn't wait to come to the butterfly house to find Bai Yu, just to visit Nezuko. Nezuko was lying next to Tanjiro, and then she took Tanjiro's hand and put it on her face. After seeing Tanjiro, Kaneo didn't dare to come forward and just stood there blankly, because she didn't know what she should say to Tanjiro in such a situation. Kaneo's heart suddenly retreated. I don't know how long it took. I saw Tanjiro let Nezuko return to the mist spruce wooden box and put the wooden box on his back as if he was ready to leave. When Tanjiro walked out of the room and met Kaneo's eyes, Kaneo came back to her senses. Kaneo, long time no see. How are you doing recently? Tanjiro smiled and took the initiative to greet Kaneo. Kaneo looked at Tanjiro blankly and didn't make any answer. Tanjiro saw that Kaneo didn't say anything, and Tanjiro, who thought that Kaneo would change a little, couldn't help but feel a little embarrassed. Why don't you toss a coin to decide? Tanjiro reminded her. Long time no see. Tanjiro. As soon as Tanjiro finished speaking, Kaneo did not flip a coin, but answered Tanjiro directly. Seeing that Kaneo spoke to him without flipping a coin, Tanjiro laughed happily again, and then said, great. Kaneo, now you can decide without flipping a coin. That Kaneo seemed to want to say something to Tanjiro, but she didn't know how to start, so she hesitated. Seeing this, Tanjiro looked at Kaneo with some confusion and then asked, "Kaneo, what's wrong with you?" Kaneo, who lost control of her language, suddenly grabbed Tanjiro tightly. Tanjiro was even more at a loss and asked again, "Kaneo, what are you doing?" Brother Bai Yu said that if you meet a boy you can't forget, you have to hold on to him. I can't forget you, so I have to hold on to you. Kaneo relayed what Bai Yu said to her to Tanjiro. Hearing this, Tanjiro turned around and looked at Bai Yu, who walked out of the room somewhat awkwardly, and asked Bai Yu Sr., "What did you say to Kaneo?" Bai Yu coughed a few times. At this time Kaneo said, "Bai Yu brother and butterfly sister are in love. It seems so happy and warm. I can feel that butterfly sister is really happy. I also yearn for that feeling in my heart." Tanjiro, you let me follow my inner thoughts. This is what I think in my heart. Chapter 411, Token of Love. Bai Yu was a little at a loss, and Tanjiro looked at Bai Yu in confusion. "Bai Yu Sr., what did you say to Kaneo?" Tanjiro asked Bai Yu again in confusion. "Tanjiro, I should ask you this. What did you say to Kaneo? Did you do something to Kaneo? I can't forget it." Bai Yu naturally saw that Kaneo seemed to like Tanjiro, but he didn't expect Tanjiro to be in love now. Not only Kanzaki Aoi is interested in Tanjiro, but Kaneo is also interested in Tanjiro. Hearing Bai Yu's words, and then seeing Kaneo holding him tightly, Tanjiro felt that he couldn't wash it off, even if he jumped into the Yellow River. "No. Bai Yu Sr., how is it possible? Don't you trust my character? Only Zenitsu is most likely to do this kind of thing to tease a girl." Tanjiro immediately denied, and Agatsuma Zenitsu, who was on a mission outside, sneezed because of Tanjiro's words. Bai Yu didn't think so. Although it was true that Agatsuma Zenitsu liked beautiful women, he was definitely not the kind of guy who had no bottom line. That's not right. "Bai Yu Sr., how come you are in love with Lady Kocho Shinobu? How come I didn't know about it?" Tanjiro suddenly caught the shocking news that Kaneo suddenly said, and then immediately asked Bai Yu. Seeing that Tanjiro wanted to shift the focus to himself, Bai Yu could only smile bitterly and said, "That's a private matter. Do you know that it has no impact on you? You should solve the problem in front of you first. People like you," Bai Yu said, and looked at Kaneo. Hearing this, Tanjiro looked at Kaneo, who was holding him tightly. Tanjiro had never thought of being liked by a girl. He didn't know how to deal with such a situation. Should he accept or refuse? Kaneo looked straight at Tanjiro and at the same time held Tanjiro tightly. Seeing that Tanjiro was indifferent, Bai Yu pushed Tanjiro and said with some regret, "Why are you standing there like an idiot? Hug each other. Just show half of your care for Nezuko." Although he was pushed by Bai Yu, Tanjiro still did not hug Kaneo, but said to Bai Yu a little embarrassedly, "This is not good. Tanjiro, it's not terrible to do something wrong. What's terrible is that you are unwilling to take responsibility." Bai Yu continued to enlighten Tanjiro. Hearing this, Tanjiro said with tears in his eyes, "Senior Bai Yu, but I really didn't do anything bad. I don't know why Kaneo is like this." At this moment, Kaneo handed the coin used for decision to Tanjiro. Tanjiro looked at the coin in his hand and then asked Kaneo, "Are you asking me to flip a coin to decide whether I like you or not?" Kaneo shook her head, and at this time Bai Yu said, "It's probably a token of love. Bai Yu senpai, please don't mess around, okay?" Tanjiro pleaded with Bai Yu, feeling a little overwhelmed. Bai Yu was not involved in the matter, so he didn't know the details of the two of them, so he didn't know what Kaneo stuffed a coin into Tanjiro's mouth meant, but he guessed it was something like a token of love. Tanjiro stared at the coin in his hand, thinking that Kaneo had used coins to decide her inner choices before. Could it be that this coin represents Kaneo's heart? If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 412, Bai Yu's matchmaking. Did Kaneo give her heart to him? The more Tanjiro thought about it, the more scary it felt. "My heart chose you, so what about your heart?" Kaneo asked Tanjiro. Upon hearing this, Tanjiro trembled all over and didn't know how to answer Kaneo. Because Tanjiro never wanted to like a girl, Tanjiro couldn't give Kaneo an answer. Kaneo, I can't tell you the answer now, because I have never thought about liking a girl. Tanjiro immediately confessed to Kaneo. For an honest boy like Tanjiro, it is impossible for him to take Kaneo down. Bai Yu, who was standing aside, couldn't help but slap himself in the face with some helplessness. This answer was simply pushing the girl out. When will you think about this problem? I'm waiting for your answer. Kaneo was not disappointed at all, but chose to give Tanjiro the opportunity to think about the choice. Tanjiro just said it, and Bai Yu covered his mouth and dragged him into the room. Kanaho, Tanjiro needs a quiet environment to think. Please wait a moment. Bai Yu, who dragged Tanjiro into the room, stuck his head out and said to Kaneo, who was a little puzzled. After that, he closed the door all of a sudden. Hearing this, Kaneo really stood there quietly waiting. If Bai Yu didn't intervene, Tanjiro would really shut Kaneo out. As soon as Bai Yu let go of Tanjiro's mouth, Tanjiro shouted to Bai Yu in confusion, "Senior Bai Yu, what are you doing?" Bai Yu wanted to kick Tanjiro, this stupid guy, but Bai Yu still resisted the urge. "Tanjiro, you pig-brained. Can't you see that Kaneo likes you? Why are you so stubborn? Something must have happened between you two, otherwise a girl like Kaneo who lacks emotions will not like a boy. Tanjiro, you must take this responsibility and cannot reject Kaneo." Bai Yu lowered his voice and ordered Tanjiro in a very firm tone. "Senior Bai Yu, aren't you making things difficult for me? A forced melon is not sweet. You are forcing me and Kaneo together, which may not be good for her. Besides, Kaneo and I are innocent. There is really nothing between us." Tanjiro's face became very embarrassed. Shouldn't our first task be to defeat Muse and Kibutsuji? Now is not the time for love. Tanjiro immediately found another reason to persuade Bai Yu. "How dare you say that? Don't think I don't know that you were the last one to arrive before the Infinite Train mission. Didn't you look for Kaneo during this period?" Bai Yu immediately looked up the almanac with Tanjiro. "Senior Bai Yu, that was just a simple farewell." Tanjiro could only try his best to explain. "Zenitsu is so greedy for beauty, but I didn't see him say goodbye." Bai Yu immediately refuted Tanjiro, which made Tanjiro speechless. Although Tanjiro subjectively thought that it was just a simple farewell, that farewell was the time when Tanjiro entered Kaneo's heart. Chapter 413. Tanjiro is convinced. However, Tanjiro is not just about this. Kanaho is a person who lacks emotions. She needs you, Tanjiro. You must take this responsibility. If you reject Kaneo, it will have a great impact on her character and even distort her character. Her open heart will be completely closed because of you. Tanjiro, you are a kind-hearted person. Kaneo can only have a future with you. You brought her out of the closed world, so you must be prepared to protect her, just like protecting Nezuko. Bai Yu knew that Tanjiro was unwilling to accept it in his heart, not because he didn't like Kaneo, but because Tanjiro didn't have the mind to do so now. Bai Yu could only make the situation serious, so that Tanjiro would know the seriousness of rejecting Kaneo, and then Tanjiro would accept Kaneo under the drive of his kindness. Bai Yu knew that Tanjiro was a person who valued emotions very much, so when Kaneo, a person who lacks emotions, is with Tanjiro, although there will be no vows of love, no end, how romantic it is, but it is the most down-to-earth and the most desirable kind of simple emotion. For a child like Kaneo, the best choice is to follow an honest and kind child like Tanjiro. After Tanjiro heard what Bai Yu said, he began to waver. Kaneo opened her heart and listened to the voice of her heart, which was indeed inseparable from herself. Tanjiro also felt that what Bai Yu said was very reasonable, but Tanjiro did not have any emotional experience, so Tanjiro seemed so at a loss. Senior Bai Yu, but I have never been in love with a girl, this is too embarrassing. Tanjiro was still a little embarrassed. Stinky boy, why didn't you feel embarrassed or ashamed when you said goodbye to Kaneo? Bai Yu said unhappily, and then told Tanjiro what to do. There's nothing to be embarrassed about. All you have to do is agree to accept Kaneo, and then treat her like usual. Treat her the way you usually do. Finally, give Kaneo more care and regards, and treat Kaneo with half of the feelings you have for Nezuko, and treat her as your family. If you still don't understand, think about how your father gets along with your mother. Bai Yu added at the end, signaling Tanjiro to think about his father and mother. Tanjiro was silent now. Seeing Bai Yu worrying about him, Tanjiro couldn't help but feel that Bai Yu was like the eldest brother in the family, and a warm feeling came over him. Let me give it a try. Tanjiro could only hold the idea of giving it a try, because Tanjiro knew that he was not the kind of boy who could always make girls happy, so Tanjiro did not dare to guarantee that he could really walk hand in hand with Kaneo to the stage of father and mother. After that, the door was pushed open by Bai Yu, and Tanjiro looked at Kaneo, who was still standing in the same position waiting, and his feelings became more complicated. At this time, a lot of snowflakes falling from the sky had accumulated on Kaneo's hair, but Kaneo did not care about it at all, and stood there like a wooden man. Bai Yu immediately pushed Tanjiro, and then gave Tanjiro a look. After being pushed by Bai Yu, Tanjiro slowly came in front of Kaneo. Chapter 414 Hug. Because of the change in his mentality, Tanjiro is now a little afraid to look directly into Kaneo's eyes. Although he musters up the courage to look every time, Tanjiro's eyes will inevitably glance away after a second. Kaneo is not shy. As a person who lacks emotions, Kaneo basically has no emotions, so she is rarely affected by emotions. The smile that she often wears on her face is also imitated from Shinobu Kocho's sister. It is not a smile from the heart, but just an appearance. Shinobu Kocho's sister is a girl who often smiles on her face. This is why Shinobu Kocho sees a shadow of her sister in Bai Yu, because Bai Yu is also a person who often smiles. Tanjiro, do you have an answer in your heart? Seeing that Tanjiro didn't speak, Kaneo took the initiative to ask Tanjiro. Tanjiro was still silent for a while. Bai Yu's words let Tanjiro know that Kaneo is a girl who needs to be protected. Tanjiro can also feel that she seems to be looking for a support, and this support is herself. For a moment, Tanjiro didn't know what to say to Kaneo. Bai Yu, who was standing outside the door, was so anxious that he was really afraid that Tanjiro would fail at the critical moment. In the end, Tanjiro, who really didn't know how to respond to Kaneo, hugged Kaneo in his arms. Perhaps when you can't respond with words, action is the best answer to replace words. Seeing this scene, Bai Yu's anxiety for Tanjiro completely disappeared, and a relieved smile appeared on his face. After this, the relationship between Tanjiro and Kaneo was truly established. However, Tanjiro and Kaneo did not become abnormally close because of this, but it can be found that Kaneo seems to like to stick to Tanjiro more actively, and Tanjiro also gives Kaneo more care. But because of this, whenever Tanjiro is talked about, he will still be very shy. Especially when Agatsuma Zenitsu knew about this, he was hit hard and almost doubted his life. Because Zenitsu Agatsuma couldn't accept that a wooden man like Tanjiro could be liked by Kaneo, it took Zenitsu Agatsuma several days to recover from the deep blow. As the saying goes, some are happy and some are sad. Kanzaki Aoi, who also has a little affection for Tanjiro, felt inexplicably uncomfortable when she knew that Kaneo and Tanjiro were together. But no one knows that Kanzaki Aoi, who feels uncomfortable, is actually a weak girl in her heart compared to her usual carefree personality. Because of her cowardice, after surviving the selection by chance, she dared not pick up weapons again to fight the ghost to the end. Sometimes Kanzaki Aoi also comforts herself that Tanjiro and Kaneo are a more suitable pair because Kaneo can face it with Tanjiro and share many dangers for Tanjiro. And she can only be needed by Tanjiro when Tanjiro is injured. Just when Kanzaki Aoi was distracted by this, she bumped into a person's chest head on, and the person who was hit by Kanzaki Aoi was Zenitsu Agatsuma. Zenitsu Agatsuma came to Zyraking and the others to apply medicine. These injuries were just superficial injuries sustained during the mission, and were not serious. However, given Zenitsu Agatsuma's personality, being served by girls was what made her happiest. That was why Zenitsu Agatsuma was so diligent in coming to the butterfly house to apply medicine. Chapter 415, Crying Kanzaki Aoi. Aoi-chan. What's wrong with you? Nagatsuma's Zenitsu had just recovered from the shock and asked Kanzaki Aoi after Kanzaki Aoi bumped into him. In fact, Agatsuma Zenitsu saw Kanzaki Aoi from a distance and greeted her several times in the middle, but Kanzaki Aoi, who was absent-minded, didn't hear it at all. Finally, when Agatsuma Zenitsu was about to step forward to understand the situation, Kanzaki Aoi bumped into him directly. After Kanzaki Aoi bumped into someone, she came back to her senses and then subconsciously apologized. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Please forgive me." After saying that, Kanzaki Aoi looked up at the person she bumped into, and after finding out that this person was Agatsuma Zenitsu, Kanzaki Aoi's face became a little disgusted and immediately changed his tone and scolded Agatsuma Zenitsu. "Lecher. Don't you have eyes when you walk?" Agatsuma Zenitsu was scolded, and the whole person was also confused, and then looked at Kanzaki Aoi in confusion. However, although he was scolded, Zenitsu Agatsuma was not angry. For girls, especially cute and beautiful girls, Zenitsu Agatsuma has no immunity and temper. "Aoi-chan, are you having your period? You are so angry." Zenitsu Agatsuma immediately asked with concern. "No." Aoi Kanzaki denied it immediately, and she didn't like Zenitsu Agatsuma very much. "Well, Aoi-chan, I'm here to apply medicine, so it's a good opportunity for you to help me." Zenitsu Agatsuma also quickly found a reason to have further contact with Aoi Kanzaki and said, if Zenitsu Agatsuma was not too greedy for beauty, Aoi Kanzaki would not be so disgusted with Zenitsu Agatsuma. "I'm busy. Go find someone else." Aoi Kanzaki immediately rejected Zenitsu Agatsuma and then walked around Zenitsu Agatsuma and prepared to leave. Agatsuma Zenitsu grabbed Kanzaki Aoi's hand and asked her, "Are you distracted because Tanjiro and Kaneo are together?" 3 months ago, Kanzaki Aoi often came to Purgatory Pavilion to treat the injuries of Tanjiro and Inosuke. Agatsuma Zenitsu saw that Kanzaki Aoi liked Tanjiro at that time. So Agatsuma Zenitsu thought that Kanzaki Aoi was distracted now, maybe because Tanjiro was with another girl. Hearing this, Kanzaki Aoi was stunned for a moment, and then she strongly denied it. "What are you talking about? Let go. Otherwise I will scream." At that moment, Agatsuma Zenitsu felt Kanzaki Aoi's heartbeat tremble, which further confirmed Agatsuma Zenitsu's guess that Kanzaki Aoi liked Tanjiro. After Tanjiro and Kaneo were together, Kanzaki Aoi couldn't accept it in her heart, and she didn't know how to face it, which led to her distraction. If you had expressed your feelings to Tanjiro earlier, you wouldn't be feeling so bad now. Agatsuma Zenitsu continued to speak to Kanzaki Aoi indifferently. This time, Kanzaki Aoi felt even more heartbroken. She endured the pain in her heart, shook off Agatsuma Zenitsu's hand that was grabbing her, and asked, "Are you here to laugh at me? Or are you here to pity me?" Agatsuma Zenitsu was right. If she had expressed her feelings to Tanjiro earlier, she wouldn't have been beaten to it by others. However, Kanzaki Aoi just had a good impression of Tanjiro at that time, and she was not sure whether she wanted to develop a deeper relationship with Tanjiro. "Cry if you want to. This way you will feel better." Agatsuma Zenitsu looked at Kanzaki Aoi, who was pretending to be strong and holding back tears, and couldn't help but remind her. Chapter 416, Zenitsu's Confession. Agatsuma Zenitsu did not take the initiative to wipe Kanzaki Aoi's tears, although this can show gentlemanly demeanor, but Agatsuma Zenitsu understands that their current relationship is not yet at the point where he can help wipe her tears, because helping a girl wipe her tears is an extremely intimate act. "I'm not here to make fun of you, nor am I here to pity you. I just want to tell you that if you miss something, it's missed. If you still don't choose to let it go, it will only increase your discomfort." Agatsuma Zenitsu continued. Hearing this, Kanzaki Aoi didn't expect Agatsuma Zenitsu to say such words, and couldn't help but feel a little surprised. And Kanzaki Aoi can feel that Agatsuma Zenitsu's words are from the heart, as if she feels the same way. It feels like Agatsuma Zenitsu has also experienced similar things. There are thousands of men in the world, you might as well consider a high quality single man like me. And then, Agatsuma Zenitsu added this sentence to Kanzaki Aoi. Zenitsu Agatsuma's words of self-promotion completely broke the atmosphere that had just been created. Aoi Kanzaki slapped Zenitsu Agatsuma in the face in anger, and then said with disgust, "A dog will never change its eating habits." After that, Aoi Kanzaki walked away without looking back. Zenitsu Agatsuma's words just now made Aoi Kanzaki feel that Zenitsu Agatsuma had ulterior motives towards her, so she suddenly got angry and slapped Zenitsu Agatsuma. In Aoi Kanzaki's view, Zenitsu Agatsuma simply wanted to get her body. Zenitsu Agatsuma covered his face that was hurt by the slap, and then said to Aoi Kanzaki, who was leaving with some grievance, "Aoi-chan, I'm sincere. Please consider it. Even if you want to reject me, don't be stupid and hang yourself on a tree." Zenitsu Agatsuma did not forget to remind Aoi Kanzaki again. Suddenly, Kanzaki Aoi suddenly stopped, then turned around, and said to Zenitsu Agatsuma, "Even if all the men in the world died, I would not consider you. I'm serious, I like you, Aoi-chan. Can't you give me a chance?" Zenitsu Agatsuma saw that Kanzaki Aoi did not leave without looking back, but stopped halfway to respond to him, and Zenitsu Agatsuma felt hopeful, so he shamelessly confessed. If you want to say why Zenitsu Agatsuma confessed to Kanzaki Aoi, it was mainly because he was stimulated by Tanjiro and Kaneo. Although Zenitsu Agatsuma has always liked Nezuko, Zenitsu Agatsuma knows that it is all wishful thinking. What's more, Nezuko is still a ghost, and I don't know when she can turn back to human, let alone whether she can really turn back to human. Will Nezuko accept herself after she turns back to human? All of this is unknown, because there are too many uncertainties, and stimulated by the things of Tanjiro and Kaneo, Zenitsu Agatsuma now also wants to find a girlfriend as soon as possible to plan for his future. It is normal to say that Agatsuma Zenitsu is a playboy, that is his nature. However, Agatsuma Zenitsu knew that, after choosing a girl other than Nezuko, he actually gave up on Nezuko. Of course, giving up here does not mean that he will not have any contact with Nezuko at all, but Agatsuma Zenitsu gave up being Nezuko's husband. After all, Nezuko is so cute and beautiful, Agatsuma Zenitsu is still willing to stay with Nezuko. Chapter 417, Kanzaki Aoi's Test. When her relationship was frustrated, another boy suddenly confessed to her. Kanzaki Aoi felt a little strange. If it weren't for the fact that Zenitsu Agatsuma's image of lust for beauty was deeply rooted in Kanzaki Aoi's heart, perhaps Zenitsu Agatsuma wouldn't have been treated coldly by Kanzaki Aoi when she confessed. "Like me, I see that you like every girl you see," Kanzaki Aoi immediately exposed. Hearing this, Zenitsu Agatsuma immediately explained and said, "I was just simply admiring you. Liking and admiring are different. I like you from the bottom of my heart." Really? Kanzaki Aoi was not fooled by Zenitsu Agatsuma's glib tongue. For what Zenitsu Agatsuma said now, Kanzaki Aoi didn't believe 9 out of 10 words. Kanzaki Aoi didn't believe that Zenitsu Agatsuma liked her from the bottom of his heart. After all, nothing worth remembering happened between her and Zenitsu Agatsuma. "Then tell me, why do you like me? What do you like about me?" Seeing that Zenitsu Agatsuma wanted to use sweet words to fool her, Kanzaki Aoi also became interested. Kanzaki Aoi also wanted to hear what Zenitsu Agatsuma could say. Hearing this, Zenitsu Agatsuma felt that there was a play, so he thought quickly and said, "I like the way you are angry with me, because when you are angry, all your attention is on me. I like the way you carefully check my body, because it makes me feel very happy. I like the way you are cute, because that makes me feel that you need to be protected by me. I like you, no matter how you hit me or scold me, I like you." It must be said that Zenitsu Agatsuma, as an old hand, still has the skills to seduce girls. This affectionate confession is definitely not something that Tanjiro and Inosuke can do. Kanzaki Aoi really didn't expect Zenitsu Agatsuma to be able to say something. If it weren't for Zenitsu Agatsuma's shortcoming of being lustful, Kanzaki Aoi would probably really be conquered by Zenitsu Agatsuma's confession. Because Kanzaki Aoi felt extremely disgusted when she thought of the look of Agatsuma Zenitsu, who turned into a pig when seeing a beautiful woman. "Can you be with me, Aoi-chan? I like you." Agatsuma Zenitsu saw that Kanzaki Aoi was distracted and immediately added a sentence while the iron was hot. Unless you can let everyone in the Demon Slayer Corps know that you like me, I will agree to be your girlfriend. Kanzaki Aoi did not agree to Agatsuma Zenitsu immediately, but thought of a way to trick Agatsuma Zenitsu, or to test Agatsuma Zenitsu. If Agatsuma Zenitsu did not dare to do this, it means that Agatsuma Zenitsu did not want to hang himself on this tree, which proves that Agatsuma Zenitsu is a playboy who only knows how to ruin girls, and Kanzaki Aoi would never agree to Agatsuma Zenitsu. If Agatsuma Zenitsu dared to do this, at least Agatsuma Zenitsu would not be able to do it to other girls. Okay. Not to mention the entire Demon Slayer Corps, even the whole world. I can let the whole world know that my wife Zenitsu likes Kanzaki Aoi. Don't regret it when the time comes. Otherwise, I will spank you. Zenitsu Agatsuma also agreed immediately and then stretched out his hand to signal Kanzaki Aoi not to regret it. Kanzaki Aoi nodded and promised no. In fact, although Zenitsu Agatsuma is fickle, his thoughts are very simple. For him, he just wants a girlfriend. Chapter 418, Clan begins. The love test that Kanzaki Aoi set up for my wife Zenitsu was actually more of a tease for my wife Zenitsu, because Kanzaki Aoi didn't think that my wife Zenitsu had such courage to advertise everywhere in the Demon Slayer Corps headquarters that he liked himself. Doing this will easily be regarded as a fool by others, and the other party will also regard these words as a prank. So this test seems to be just a matter of courage to shout that you like someone, but in actual action, this will not have any effect. And my wife Zenitsu wanted to pass this test and completely leave Kanzaki Aoi with no way out, and finally he could only obey himself. It can be said that the two of them had their own ghosts. After this, my wife Zenitsu shamelessly begged Kanzaki Aoi to apply medicine to himself. Kanzaki Aoi also temporarily got out of Tanjiro's affairs because of my wife Zenitsu, so at the request of my wife Zenitsu, he helped his external injuries to reapply medicine. Time passed day by day, and my wife Zenitsu began his own plan to capture Kanzaki Aoi. Zenitsu Agatsuma naturally wouldn't be stupid enough to go around and yell at the Demon Slayer Corps. Zenitsu Agatsuma made a plan in his mind and then went to Bai Yu to seek help from Bai Yu and told Bai Yu about himself and Kanzaki Aoi. After Bai Yu heard what Zenitsu Agatsuma said, a smile of admiration appeared on his face. Kanzaki Aoi, this girl, Bai Yu also knew that she had a good impression of Tanjiro, but he didn't expect Zenitsu Agatsuma to immediately dig Kanzaki Aoi's corner after Tanjiro had Kaneo. But this is also in line with Zenitsu Agatsuma's character. Among the group, he is the one who wants to get rid of singleness the most. Even a wooden man like Tanjiro got rid of singleness before him, and Zenitsu Agatsuma probably couldn't sit still. Maybe there is a little meaning of being hungry, but Bai Yu has no prejudice. Because it is definitely unrealistic for Tanjiro to accept Kanzaki Aoi again. An honest man like Tanjiro can't accept that he has two wives. So, it's enough for Tanjiro to have Kaneo. Therefore, there is nothing wrong with Kanzaki Aoi being picked up by Agatsuma Zenitsu. After all, it is good to keep the wealth within the family. Moreover, Kanzaki Aoi has a strong personality, which can suppress Agatsuma Zenitsu. If the two are together, it is also a good choice. And Kanzaki Aoi seems to prefer handsome boys, which is more consistent with Agatsuma Zenitsu than Tanjiro. Because of the appearance of the group, except for Inosuke's feminine face, the second most handsome one is Agatsuma Zenitsu, and the most handsome one is naturally Shiraha. However, after hearing what Agatsuma Zenitsu said, Bai Yu asked back, Zenitsu, so, are you going to give up Nezuko? Hearing this, Agatsuma Zenitsu was silent for a few seconds, then nodded to Bai Yu and said, Senior Bai Yu, it's not that I have changed my feelings, but I feel that I'm not suitable for Nezuko. I just want to keep it simple in the future. Seeing that Agatsuma Zenitsu was still trying his best to maintain his image, Bai Yu smiled and patted Agatsuma Zenitsu on the shoulder and then said, no need to explain, I know it. Being with Nezuko is too much to bear. You are really not suitable. Bai Yu naturally did not have any prejudice against Agatsuma Zenitsu, because Agatsuma Zenitsu started to shout how much he liked Nezuko, but now he suddenly likes other girls. Because Bai Yu introduced Nezuko to Agatsuma Zenitsu, just to fulfill the promise he made to Agatsuma Zenitsu at Fujiki Mountain. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 419, Plan and Progress. Bai Yu naturally couldn't force Agatsuma Zenitsu, so he gave up Nezuko, which was a rational choice in Bai Yu's opinion. Bai Yu didn't want Agatsuma Zenitsu to be dragged by Nezuko. After all, Bai Yu had no idea when Nezuko would be able to turn back into a human being, and whether she would accept Agatsuma Zenitsu. However, don't worry, Senior Bai Yu, I will still protect Nezuko with you. Agatsuma Zenitsu immediately added to Bai Yu. Hearing this, Bai Yu nodded, and then thanked Agatsuma Zenitsu. After that, Agatsuma Zenitsu explained his plan to Bai Yu in detail. In fact, what Bai Yu had to do was very simple, that is, to help Agatsuma Zenitsu call people. With Bai Yu's current status, it should be no problem to temporarily gather the members of the Demon Slayer Corps. Of course, these members are not the frontline members who are on missions outside, but the members of the hidden department who are staying at the headquarters. Because except for the members of the hidden department and the frontline members who were injured in the mission who can stay at the headquarters, frontline members like Tanjiro cannot stay at the headquarters without something particularly important. Even if there is no mission to do, the frontline team members will go outside to find a place to stay, not back to the headquarters. Tanjiro is now special. He is not only the stepson of the flame-pillaring Goku Kaijiro, but also a member of the Zangetsu team. So if there is nothing to do, as long as he is willing, he can stay at the headquarters. So Hattori Kyujo and the others can stay at the headquarters when there is no mission, because the headquarters has arranged a special residence. There is no need to say more about Bai Yu. Based on Bai Yu's ability to fight the upper rank demon, although he is not called a pillar, Bai Yu's status is definitely on par with the pillar. So when Bai Yu has no mission, he can naturally choose to stay at the headquarters. As for the issue of residence, it is naturally not a problem, not to mention that Shinobu Kocho personally accepted Bai Yu, and Bai Yu had no objection. So Yubuayashiki Yoya did not go to arrange a new residence for Bai Yu. As for why the frontline team members cannot stay at the headquarters, the main reason is that there are already a large number of hidden department members stationed at the headquarters, and the headquarters has no place to accommodate these frontline team members. So even if these frontline players come back to the headquarters, although 3 meals a day are indispensable, there is really no place to live. Therefore, the frontline players naturally feel that it is more comfortable to live in a hotel outside. In addition, the frontline players are scattered everywhere, and some people are very far away from the headquarters. It is really tiring to run back, and no one will choose this. The most important point is the mortality rate. The frontline players have the highest death and injury rate, so whether they can come back or not is a problem. So, Bai Yu told Kocho Shinobu about my wife Zenitsu, and asked Kocho Shinobu to work with him to arrange this matter. With the help of Kocho Shinobu, things went more smoothly. Soon, the Demon Slayer Corps, except for the Wind Pillar, Rock Pillar, Mist Pillar, Snake Pillar, and Sound Pillar, who did not participate in this matter, the Water Pillar Tomioka Giyu, the Flame Pillaring Goku Kaijiro, the Love Pillar Kanraji Mitsuri, and the Insect Pillar Kocho Shinobu were all willing to support my wife Zenitsu. As for the Demon Slayer Corps chief producer Yoya, because he knew from Kiko that his health was not very good, Bai Yu did not alarm him. Chapter 420 Kanzaki Aoi's disappointment. The reason why Bai Yu did not accept the invitation of the 5 people, the Wind Pillar, the Rock Pillar, the Mist Pillar, the Snake Pillar, and the Sound Pillar, was because Bai Yu was not familiar with them. Secondly, he knew the personalities of these people to some extent, and was definitely not interested in such things. Because this was just a confession of Agatsuma Zenitsu to a girl. Agatsuma Zenitsu was just an ordinary class A frontline player in the eyes of these pillars. The irritable wind pillar was definitely the least likely person to show up, because the wind pillar was the one that Bai Yu had the most contact with. And from the fact that Kocho Shinobu only invited the love pillar, Kanrigi Mitsuri, it can be seen that the other pillars must not be called. Water pillar Tomioka Giyu was personally invited by Bai Yu as his junior brother. Bai Yu, as his senior brother, naturally did not refuse Bai Yu's invitation. Tomioka Giyu is also a wooden existence than Tanjiro. Bai Yu thought that letting him feel the breath of love might make him change. Flame pillar Rengoku Kaijiro was personally invited by Agatsuma Zenitsu. After all, Agatsuma Zenitsu is now living with Rengoku Kaijiro. The two had many opportunities to meet, and they probably got to know each other better. Rengoku Kaijiro naturally did not reject Agatsuma Zenitsu's invitation. After all, Agatsuma Zenitsu had been training with him for a long time, so there was no problem for Agatsuma Zenitsu to show his support. It can be said that Agatsuma Zenitsu prepared a very big surprise for Kanzaki Aoi this time, in order to win Kanzaki Aoi in one fell swoop, and make her willing to be his girlfriend. On the other hand, Kanzaki Aoi, who was completely unaware of the situation, saw that Agatsuma Zenitsu not only did not come to see her, but also did not hear about Agatsuma Zenitsu spreading rumors about her love for her. Kanzaki Aoi could not help but feel a little disappointed with Agatsuma Zenitsu. Sure enough, he is a playboy who only knows how to talk sweet words. Kanzaki Aoi could not help but complain to Agatsuma Zenitsu. Even if Agatsuma Zenitsu did not spread the news that he liked her, even if he came to harass her every now and then, Kanzaki Aoi would feel that Agatsuma Zenitsu still had her in his heart. What puzzled Kanzaki Aoi was that after Agatsuma Zenitsu confessed his love, it was as if he didn't recognize her at all, and they felt like strangers. Agatsuma Zenitsu didn't go to Kanzaki Aoi because he was preparing his own plan. At the same time, in order to prevent Kanzaki Aoi from noticing, he didn't go to find her. Why would I feel disappointed in him? Really? He is a playboy. Kanzaki Aoi realized belatedly that he would inexplicably miss Agatsuma Zenitsu. Immediately, Kanzaki Aoi yawned, stretched and said, "Let's go back to bed early." Just as Kanzaki Aoi stepped out of the pharmacy, Kanzaki Aoi ran into Zaireking, Zayada-Cheng and Kanaho standing outside the door. The three of them took Kanzaki Aoi's hand and said in unison, "Come with us." As they said that, the three of them forcibly pulled Kanzaki Aoi out. Kanzaki Aoi was immediately very confused. At this late hour, where did the three little girls want me to take myself? Question mark? What's wrong? What happened? Kanzaki Aoi didn't resist too much, but asked Zaireking and the other three girls in confusion. "Aoi, you'll know when the time comes." Zaireking didn't say much, but pretended to be mysterious. "Yes. Just come with us. This matter is very important." Zayada-Cheng and Kanaho immediately agreed. Chapter 421 Shock. Soon, Kanzaki Aoi was pulled out of the butterfly house by Zaireking, Zayada-Cheng and Zayanaho. It was snowing outside the house. The snow was not heavy. There was only a thin layer of snow on the ground. The trees around were all dressed in white. Seeing Zaireking, Zayada-Cheng and Zayanaho pulling her out of the butterfly house, Kanzaki Aoi was even more puzzled and asked again, "Where are you going?" "It's snowing now. It's easy to catch a cold if you stay outside. You'll know when you get there," Zaireking said with a very happy smile on her face, as if something happy was going to happen. Kanzaki Aoi could only be pulled to the huge empty square of the Demon Slayer Corps headquarters by Zaireking and others with a rough mood. At this time, the square seemed particularly dim and silent because there was no light shining. Kanzaki Aoi stood in the center of the square, then looked around and asked again, "Why did you bring me here?" At this moment, the square was suddenly lit up by fire. The source of the fire was the red candles placed on the square. In the dark environment, Kanzaki Aoi did not immediately notice the candles until all the candles were lit. Kanzaki Aoi found that there were many candles placed around the square. Those candles were arranged in the shape of a heart, which suddenly changed the quiet atmosphere. Kanzaki Aoi looked at the candles that were lit and surrounded by the shape of a heart with some shock. until the sentence made of candles was lit again. Kanzaki Aoi looked at the sentence with flames. Tears suddenly appeared in her eyes, and she covered her face with some excitement. Everything that appeared in front of her made Kanzaki Aoi feel like she was dreaming. The words burning in the fire were 7 words: I love you, Kanzaki Aoi. When Kanzaki Aoi was still in shock, the walls around the square were gradually illuminated by the flames. Many hearts surrounded by flames appeared on the walls, as well as the words I like you, Kanzaki Aoi. The flames on the walls were formed by the burning of candles fixed on them. From the density of these flames, we can know the number of candles and the large amount of work. Of course, these were not completed by Zenitsu Agatsuma alone, but were completed together with the members of the Demon Slayer Corps. However, Zenitsu Agatsuma purchased the candles. For this confession, Zenitsu Agatsuma spent all the savings accumulated from his mission. Moreover, these candles are specially connected in series, so they can be lit at the same time. Using a special method to connect these candles is actually a huge amount of work. Kanzaki Aoi's mind was blank. Looking at the square suddenly illuminated by candlelight and the confession words on the walls, Kanzaki Aoi felt that she had become the happiest girl this time. Just when Kanzaki Aoi was distracted by everything in front of her, Zyacheng, Zyacheng and Kanaho had already left quietly. I don't know when, Agatsuma Zenitsu has walked towards Kanzaki Aoi step by step, and then came behind Kanzaki Aoi. Kanzaki Aoi didn't know Agatsuma Zenitsu appeared behind her. Agatsuma Zenitsu couldn't help but call out to her, Aoi-chan, I'm here to fulfill my promise to you. The voice coming from behind made Kanzaki Aoi tremble all over, and Kanzaki Aoi's body turned around involuntarily. Chapter 422 Strike. While the iron is hot. Seeing Zenitsu Agatsuma behind her, Kanzaki Aoi was a little at a loss, and didn't know what to say to Zenitsu Agatsuma. But in front of Zenitsu Agatsuma, Kanzaki Aoi still put away those tears of emotion. The appearance of Zenitsu Agatsuma also made Kanzaki Aoi come back to her senses. It can be said that in this romantic scene, Kanzaki Aoi felt that the appearance of Zenitsu Agatsuma greatly destroyed this perfect atmosphere. However, on second thought, why did Zenitsu Agatsuma appear here again? Could it be that all these were done by Zenitsu Agatsuma? Thinking of this, Kanzaki Aoi's mood became extremely complicated, because except for Zenitsu Agatsuma, it seemed that no other boys liked her. You did these? Kanzaki Aoi still didn't completely recover from the shock just now, so when she asked Zenitsu Agatsuma, her mouth was still a little stuttering. Besides me, do you think there will be other boys who will do this? If other boys are half as romantic as me, I guess you would have been chased away by others long ago. Zenitsu Agatsuma was a little proud, and admitted without any shyness. Agatsuma Zenitsu is a person who is not too shy with girls, but because of this, Agatsuma Zenitsu sometimes tends to act too hastily. Do you like this confession feast that I prepared for you? Agatsuma Zenitsu immediately looked around happily. Looking at this masterpiece that every team member has worked hard for, Agatsuma Zenitsu was also very grateful at this time. Hearing this, Kanzaki Aoi was also asked for a while, because it was facing Agatsuma Zenitsu. Although Kanzaki Aoi wanted to say that she didn't like it, it was impossible for Kanzaki Aoi to not like it. Such a romantic thing has only been done to her by one man, and that is the man in front of her. Not bad. Kanzaki Aoi said calmly. Do you remember the promise you made to me? Agatsuma Zenitsu asked again. This time, Kanzaki Aoi nodded, and then said, although your confession is much more romantic than last time, and it also touched me, it did not meet the requirements of fulfilling the promise. It was because she was facing Agatsuma Zenitsu, so even though Kanzaki Aoi was very moved by what Agatsuma Zenitsu did for her, she did not immediately agree to be Agatsuma Zenitsu's girlfriend. However, Kanzaki Aoi's favorability towards Zenitsu Agatsuma has obviously improved. At least she has already had some ideas of wavering in her heart. Hearing this, Zenitsu Agatsuma chuckled. Zenitsu Agatsuma had already expected that Kanzaki Aoi would not agree to her so easily, but Zenitsu Agatsuma had already made all preparations, ready to strike, while the iron is hot and when Kanzaki Aoi over in one fell swoop. Zenitsu Agatsuma took Kanzaki Aoi's hand, then knelt on one knee, and then took out a gold bracelet engraved with the words Zenitsu likes Aoi-chan from his arms, ready to put it on Kanzaki Aoi. Zenitsu Agatsuma's further actions made Kanzaki Aoi suddenly a little overwhelmed, and her body was completely frozen. Whether to accept it silently, or to refuse decisively, these two ideas competed in Kanzaki Aoi's mind, making Kanzaki Aoi's heart extremely entangled. Agatsuma Zenitsu did not rush to put the gold bracelet with words on Kanzaki Aoi, but first said to Kanzaki Aoi, "I will definitely do what I promised for you. Don't you want everyone in the Demon Slayer Corps to know that I like you?" Chapter 423 The players who came out to show their support. I will let everyone in the Demon Slayer Corps know right now. Agatsuma Zenitsu showed an expression of waiting for a good show. After that, Agatsuma Zenitsu took a deep breath, and then used his danshin to coordinate his breathing and throat, and announced loudly, "Aoi Agatsuma Zenitsu likes Aoi Kanzaki. Aoi Agatsuma Zenitsu wants Aoi Kanzaki to be his girlfriend. Aoi Agatsuma Zenitsu wants to be with Aoi Kanzaki for the rest of his life. I like you Aoi Kanzaki, can you be with me?" Finally, Agatsuma Zenitsu looked at Aoi Kanzaki with a sincere look and asked. As Agatsuma Zenitsu finished speaking, many people around the square suddenly shouted in unison, "Together, together, together." The voice was as powerful as a rainbow, as if it was echoing in the entire Demon Slayer Corps. Aoi Kanzaki was also frightened by this sudden scene, and then looked around nervously, and found that a large group of people suddenly surrounded her and Agatsuma Zenitsu. "Aoi, brother Zenitsu is a very romantic person. You will be very happy with him." At this time, Xia King in the innermost circle waved her hands, and said to Aoi Kanzaki excitedly, "Yes, yes. Brother Zenitsu has been busy with this matter for a while." Xia Cheng on the side also assisted Zenitsu Agatsuma. Aoi Kanzaki was shocked by the scene in front of her again. This scene was not what Aoi Kanzaki expected. Aoi Kanzaki did not expect that there would be so many people hiding in the dark to watch all this planned by Zenitsu Agatsuma. Did they light the candles just now? They had already reconciled with Zenitsu Agatsuma? Zenitsu Agatsuma has not come to see me for so many days. Is it just to plan this confession? The more she thought about it, the more Aoi Kanzaki felt wronged and moved. Suddenly, her emotions got out of control, and she started crying again. Aoi Kanzaki looked at the large number of team members surrounding her with tears in her eyes. From the intuitive observation alone, it can be known that most of the members of the Demon Slayer Corps headquarters must be present. In other words, to some extent, Zenitsu Agatsuma has already met Kanzaki Aoi's requirements. Unless Kanzaki Aoi deliberately makes things difficult for Zenitsu Agatsuma, in that case, it would be meaningless. If the distance between the two is 100 steps, then Zenitsu Agatsuma has already taken the initiative to walk 99 steps towards Kanzaki Aoi. If Kanzaki Aoi does not take the initiative to take the remaining step for Zenitsu Agatsuma, then in fact, the 99 steps taken by Zenitsu Agatsuma are in vain. Because this last step represents Zenitsu Agatsuma's dignity. Even if Zenitsu Agatsuma takes the 100th step, if Kanzaki Aoi does not accept it, it is equivalent to taking another step back, making the distance become 101 steps. Therefore, the person who should really take the last step should actually be Kanzaki Aoi, not Zenitsu Agatsuma. Looking at Kanzaki Aoi, who was so excited that she cried, Zenitsu Agatsuma did not wipe her tears, because if Kanzaki Aoi did not take that last step, Zenitsu Agatsuma would not make intimate moves towards Kanzaki Aoi. At this moment, Shiraha, Shinobu Kocho, Chihayu Tomioka, Kyojiro Ringoku, and Mitsuri Kanraji also flashed into the crowd. These 5 people were the most important people among all the people. Shiraha and others appeared, naturally, to send blessings to Zenitsu Agatsuma and Aoi Kanzaki. Sometimes, the promotion of marriage requires some help. Tanjiro, Kaneo, Inosuke, and the members of the second team of Zangetsu, headed by Hattori Kyujo, also squeezed through the crowd and came to Shiraha and others, and then looked at Zenitsu Agatsuma and Aoi Kanzaki with joy on their faces. Chapter 424 Beautiful Fireworks. Young people's love is really enviable. When can I meet such a boy? So happy. I'm very happy to witness your happiness. Love pillar Kanraji Mitsuri couldn't help but sigh, and a very happy smile appeared on her face. Yes. This scorching fire of love has also set my heart on fire. It's great to be young. Flame pillaring Goku Kajiro also echoed the sigh. AOI, Zenitsu is a child with good character and great potential. You might as well consider it. Insect pillar Kocho Shinobu assisted Zenitsu Agatsuma. Although Zenitsu Agatsuma is beautiful and Kocho Shinobu has seen it, this is not a bad shortcoming in Kocho Shinobu's eyes. After all, Zenitsu Agatsuma's character is still fine. The most minor problem is that he likes to take advantage of girls. Congratulations. Even the water pillar Tomioka Giyu, who usually doesn't talk much, congratulated him lightly. But Bai Yu didn't say anything, just looked at Kanzaki Aoi with a smile on his face. Kanzaki Aoi looked at the love pillar, flame pillar, insect pillar, and water pillar in front of her with an unbelievable look on her face. They actually came to bless her and Zenitsu. Is this a wedding scene or a confession scene? Kanzaki Aoi was a little confused, and she didn't believe that Zenitsu could call these pillars, but these pillars not only came, but also looked favorably upon her and Zenitsu. Aoi-chan, I wish you and Zenitsu happiness in the future. Tanjiro also simply blessed Zenitsu and Kanzaki Aoi. The reason why Tanjiro could say such a blessing was because he didn't know that Kanzaki Aoi had liked him. Aoi-chan, listen to the voice of your heart. Kaneo, who was holding Tanjiro's arm, also said to Kanzaki Aoi the words that affected her the most. What the hell? What is Zenitsu doing? He actually knelt down with a woman. Inosuke yelled in confusion. Hattori Kyujo didn't say anything, he just came to support someone. In her opinion, if Agatsuma Zenitsu could become more honest because of Kanzaki Aoi, it would be a very good thing. The two Murata brothers hugged each other miserably and then let out the wailing of single dogs. Aoi-chan, everyone knows that I like you. Can you fulfill your promise? Agatsuma Zenitsu asked Kanzaki Aoi again. The next moment, Kanzaki Aoi threw herself heavily into Agatsuma Zenitsu's arms and knocked Agatsuma Zenitsu to the ground. The last step was that Kanzaki Aoi took the initiative to walk towards Agatsuma Zenitsu. Feeling Kanzaki Aoi's body in his arms and her heartbeat close to his chest, Agatsuma Zenitsu almost fainted with excitement. Ha 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 ha, I have a girlfriend too. Agatsuma Zenitsu laughed very happily. It can be said that this is the happiest time for Agatsuma Zenitsu in all these years. The team members gathered together cheered immediately, and then someone suddenly led the atmosphere and said, "Give me a kiss. Give me a kiss." After a while, except for Bai Yu and others, the team members all said these three words in unison. At the request of everyone, Zenitsu Agatsuma and Aoi Kanzaki also kissed each other. Mitsuri Kanaraji immediately covered her eyes and dared to peek at the scene only through the gaps between her fingers. Shinobu Kocho couldn't help but glance at Bai Yu, and Bai Yu also looked at her, and the two smiled at each other. It's great to be young, Rengoku Kajiro said with emotion with a smile. Giyu Tomioka still had a cold face, which was out of tune with the lively atmosphere. When the atmosphere reached its peak, Zenitsu Agatsuma lit the huge fireworks prepared for this confession, and then took Aoi Kanzaki's hand, and watched the colorful fireworks blooming in the dark night with everyone. In the courtyard where the leader of the Demon Slayer Corps lived, Yubuayashiki Yoshiha heard the sound of fireworks exploding, so he murmured to his daughter beside him, "Is someone setting off fireworks? Unfortunately, I can't see it." "Yes, father. There may be members setting off fireworks near the square." One of the two daughters answered, but she didn't know if it was Kiko. The other one looked up and admired the beautiful fireworks. Chapter 425 Uninvited Guests. In this cold winter, Agatsuma Zenitsu lived a particularly warm life. Because of Kanzaki Aoi, Agatsuma Zenitsu's attitude towards practice became particularly serious, and even Tanjiro felt a little ashamed of himself. Winter passed and spring came, and several months passed. But at this time, the butterfly house welcomed a special guest, and this person was the sound pillar User Tenjin. As soon as User Tenjin arrived at the butterfly house, he could not help but kidnap Kanzaki Aoi and Zyra King. Kanzaki Aoi didn't know Yuzu Tenjin's purpose and immediately asked nervously, Lord Yuzu, what are you going to do? I need your help with something. Come with me on a mission. Yuzu Tenjin also said very directly, without any negotiation. Hearing this, Kanzaki Aoi immediately became scared. How dangerous would it be to go on a mission with the pillar? Go find the frontline team members on the mission. We are just the team members responsible for medical care. It's useless to go. What's more, Zio King is still a child. Kanzaki Aoi immediately disagreed and then struggled violently. Zio Cheng and Zio Naho also hugged Yuzu Tenjin's thighs and refused to let him leave, saying, you are not allowed to take Aoi-chan and Zio King away. Otherwise, Brother Zenitsu will beat you up. This is a mission requirement. I need a few female team members. There are few female members in the Demon Slayer Corps, not to mention those who stay at the headquarters. There are only more girls in the Butterfly House, Yuzu Tenjin said in a very tough attitude. No. We are not members of the front line, and we have no combat power at all. You are ignoring our lives. Kanzaki Aoi said righteously. In her opinion, letting the logistics team members who have little combat power go on a mission is just to let them die. Yuzu Tenjin complained very unhappily. It's so annoying. This mission is not very dangerous. I just asked you to go and find out. Before he finished speaking, Zio Cheng and Zio Naho, who were hugging Yuzu Tenjin's thighs, bit Yuzu Tenjin's thighs. Ah, let go. You tigresses. Yuzu Tenjin screamed in pain. At this time, Tanjiro, Zenitsu Agatsuma and Inosuke, who had just finished a morning of training, also came to the Butterfly House. Tanjiro and Zenitsu Agatsuma came to the Butterfly House to find Kaneo and Aoi Kanzaki. Not long after entering the Butterfly House, Zenitsu Agatsuma's sensitive ears heard the argument between Aoi Kanzaki and a man. Suddenly, Zenitsu Agatsuma was like a chicken blood and roared, which guy who doesn't know how to live or die dares to bully my woman? After saying that, Zenitsu Agatsuma ran away as fast as lightning. When he ran to the courtyard, where Aoi Kanzaki and Yuzu Tenjin were, Zenitsu Agatsuma leaned down and used the thunder breathing move. Thunder breathing, Form 1, Thunderbolt. A flash of lightning immediately flew towards Yuzu Tenjin, followed by a very clear metal collision sound, and then a shuriken flipped from mid-air and stabbed into the ground. This metal collision sound was naturally caused by Yuzu Tenjin using shuriken to defend against Agatsuma Zenitsu's attack, but the shuriken was knocked out of his hand by Agatsuma Zenitsu's thunderbolt. Of course, it's not that Yuzu Tenjin is less powerful than Agatsuma Zenitsu. Just by comparing the two's physiques, it is obvious that Agatsuma Zenitsu's strength is not as good as Yuzu Tenjin. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.